Hi, Jessica. I love your headband. That's so good. All right, guys. What's up? There's Natika and Marlena, Julie, there's Doc, Jimmy Lynn. Good to see everybody. I'm just posting a picture on my story of all the bingo people on our bingo kickoff call.
You had a great turnout.
Was a lot of people on there. That's a lot for just a kickoff call.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it's good. And I know a lot of people, I just sent out the replay email and posted it. Bingo's is fun. This is the first one that we've done that's like a repeat from last year. We did it for the first time last year and it was a lot of fun. Raquel, I like your hair.
I'm excited. Thank you. I can't
really,
get rid of it. I'm really liking it.
Yeah, it's pretty. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, bingo kickoff call was fun. I'm posting this right now. And then we're going to dive right in. I always feel like we should have music on this, like waiting for everybody to come in kind of thing. But if you put music on the Zoom video, then they won't let you post it on YouTube, which is dumb. Boom. All right. Okay, guys, we're going to get right to it. It's good to see everybody's faces. Happy Sunday. I know we've got some new people on, so welcome. And some people that aren't always on a Sunday call. And so thanks for being here. I really, really encourage everybody to start their week off with, with listening into this, even if it's the replay, starting with Monday morning, just kind of getting your week and your intentions for the week. And this is a great way to start that. Sometimes, when I first heard the idea of intentions, it kind of sounded like woo-woo, like be intentional, and it didn't really make sense to me. But now as I put it into practice, I realized that I can apply it to almost anything. Like if I'm going to have a conversation with someone and I take just a minute or two before that conversation to like think about like, what do I want out of this conversation? What's the goal here? Is it just to listen, to connect, to get to some sort of a agreement? Is it to like make next steps? And I go into the conversation with intention, well, then it makes everything go better. And if you go into a workout and you're like, hey, this is my intention for this, 1 hour, and you just take a minute to think about it, it does change the workout. Like you just do things differently. And so I think it's the same with our week. Like if we approach our week with just a little bit of intention, the week's long, right? So let's see, I'm curious. I don't actually know the answer to this, but 7 times 24. So 168 hours in your week completely. So taking 15 minutes to like be intentional to set you up for 168 hours of just moving differently, right? Like seeing things differently, giving yourself a different perspective. That's exactly what you're doing on this call. So thanks for being here and thanks for listening to the replay. If you're catching this tomorrow, I don't have any announcements, but just as a reminder, if you are signed up for mindset or meal prep, do not miss those calls. You guys really want to be there. That is where all the magic happens. And so try to be there live because it's really dialed into you guys and what you're going through in your experience. I mean, yes, there's a curriculum, but at the end of the day, when you're there, it's much more interactive and fun, to be honest, because we can help each other and contribute. So just a quick reminder about that. So diving into the topic for the week. I've shared this on my podcast recently, but we haven't talked about it as a Fitme family. And I thought that would be really important to talk about it, which is the idea of focusing on the process, because I think that we've got it all wrong, to be honest. Everybody loves the whole phrase, focus on the process. But like many things, as I'm experiencing it myself, I start to realize that there's some important things that we might have been missing. So I actually started a little focus on the process challenge for myself about 2 weeks ago. And I decided that I was going to measure my starting point, but I wasn't going to be worried about like the weekly outcomes. I was just going to focus on the process. And I decided what my process was going to be. So I set some goals for myself, hitting 10,000 steps, tracking my food, staying in a calorie deficit, doing certain workouts each week. And these were all my process, right? And I've coached for 10 years. In that moment, as I said it out loud, and shared it, I said, I'm focusing on the process because here's my process, all my things, right? And what was funny to me is inside of the very first week, I started to realize that that is not what focus on the process means. Focus on the process does not mean detach yourself from the outcome. That's what I thought it meant at first. To be honest, 100%, I'm like, who cares what the outcome is? If we worry about the outcome constantly, then we're worried about the wrong thing. And so instead, let's just worry about what I've got to do today. I've got to knock out my 10,000 steps. I've got to do my workouts. I've got to, eat these foods that I'm going to eat. That's the process that I'm supposed to focus on. And I'm not going to worry about the outcome. That is not, I don't think, what focus on the process means. Now, what does it mean? I think what it actually means, to circle back to how we started this call, is to be far more intentional with the process than we would if we were just checking boxes. So when we focus on the process, we're not just checking the box. We're actually tuned in to how it happens. So for example, if you have a goal of doing a certain number of steps every day, and that's one of my goals, and believe it or not, hitting steps is pretty hard for me to sit at my computer all the time. When I'm coaching or talking on the phone, I'm oftentimes taking notes or sitting at my computer, so I'm not up very much. So I thought, focus on the process, just check the box, get the walk done. Christy, do some walks. But I realized that I actually needed to dissect why I wasn't getting them in, and then make a strategy for how to do it, and then create an enjoyable way to do it. That was focusing on it. When you're focusing on something, you're taking in information and you're actually making adjustments or observations or insights based off of that information. It's the exact opposite of checking a box. Ironically, we create these trackers where we just check the boxes, which feels really good when we knock something out. I do it too, but focusing on the process is so much more powerful than that. Because if we're actually accountable to the process, then we're learning exponentially faster. So when I started focusing on like, why am I not getting my walking in? And I started focusing on why am I not getting my walking in? It wasn't as simple as check the box. What do I need to change about my day, about my routine? How do I get creative? What do I need to do? Focusing on problem solving inside of the process created a much better way to reach that daily target. Now, if I hit that daily target all the time, is it going to create a better outcome? Yeah, but I'm going to hit that target more consistently because I focused on what I actually needed to do to create that. It's the same thing with going to the gym. You can go to the gym and just check the box. You did the thing. But if you're focused on the process, if you've committed to moving 30 minutes every day, and part of that is going to the gym, well, what if you focus on that process? Focus on it. What's the ideal workout for you right now? What could you really benefit from? What would you enjoy the most? What would you need to do in order to be more like recovered or prepared, or have that class be something that you're, really benefiting from? That's focusing on it. It doesn't mean making it perfect. It's actually the opposite of that. It's just being intentional. It's saying like, yeah, I didn't just do the minimum weight today. I picked up the heavier dumbbell because I'm focused on this process. And I said I was going to strength train, and I'm not just expecting the results at the end of this. I'm actually going to push myself. Or, hey, I'm doing bodyweight strength, so I'm doing push-ups, but I didn't just stop at 8. I went ahead and made myself do 11, even though I thought I was going to hit failure, because that's the process. Like, that is the process of getting stronger. And I'm focused on that. I want to be better at this piece because, yes, it's going to lead me better results in the long run. And so that is what focus on the process actually means. And it's so funny because I think we all need that reminder. We should give ourselves credit when we show up. Don't get me wrong. Some days it's just about showing up and giving yourself credit. But a lot of times we actually need to be intentional. We need to put forth our best effort. Focusing on the process of meal prep. Maybe meal prep's a struggle for you. And so we want the outcome. We want to eat healthy meals and not have to stress about it and have it ready and prepared with our busy lives and our jobs and our obligations and our kids. But then we're like, okay, well, I have to meal prep. That's my process, right? No, like that is the process, I guess, but really the process is far more specific to you. What is it that you need to do with your meal prep to be successful? That's what you need to be talking to your coach about. When do you need to have the grocery shopping done? When do you need to have the plan for your meals done? When do you need to actually prep it? What kind of foods are you doing? Do you like those foods? Have you tried anything new? Did you look up a recipe? Did you ask for some help? That's what focus on the process means. Not like, did you check the box for your coach that I did meal prep? It's like, how can I do meal prep better this week than I did last week? Like 1% better. How can I do this workout with just a little bit more than I gave before? How can I, take care of myself and give myself that recharge time just a little bit better than I did before? If that's part of your process, managing your stress and recovery, then focusing on that. And so anyways, I just thought that these two ideas, intentionality and then focusing on the process, really do go together. And when we eliminate distractions, because here's the thing, I'm going to be tough love coach for a minute. We're all like, I want to see these changes. Like, I want to get to this outcome. And we're like, okay, here's my plan. Here's my coach. Here's what I'm going to do. Right. But then we want to just check boxes and we want to multitask the hell out of all those things. We want to meal prep while we're doing 75 things. And we want to do the workout without, really thinking about it. We want to do all these things, juggle. And I get it, because we've got to make life work. But on the other hand, we're saying this is a priority. We want to see changes, but we're not actually focused. We're busy in every possible direction, doing every possible thing. And when we actually focus on the things that are important to us, we get to the problem solving faster. At the end of the day, that's what focus gets us. It's like, well, why didn't I meal prep this week, right? Like that was the question I asked myself last week. Why didn't I hit my steps? This isn't hard. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know I can walk. There's no reason. Why didn't I do it? And once I focused, and I actually had to focus, it wasn't until then that I came up with a solution. But if I was just like, well, didn't do it, onward, try to do a little bit better next week. It's not that that's wrong. It's just not actually intentional enough to make improvements quickly. It might be 3 or 4 weeks before you figure it out that way. But if we just ask ourselves honest questions and we focus on it, whatever it is that's important, all of a sudden results happen a lot faster. So I'd love to kind of hear from you guys around this focus on the process idea. Because again, I used to think it was just detaching yourself from the outcome. Now I think it's not that. It's about being intentional. It's about not just checking boxes most of the time. And it's about problem solving faster. And when we do that, we create better outcomes and actually we get to celebrate those outcomes. So we may not be focused on them, but we certainly get to highlight them along the way. Whether that's fitting into a new pant size that feels good, or having more energy to do something you haven't done before, or achieving a new hike, or reaching that new weight loss milestone, like all of those things, you get to celebrate that along the way, those outcomes, because you've been intentionally focusing on the things you need to. So who has thoughts or questions around this topic? You can either unmute or you can put it in the chat. Either way, let me know your thoughts. Or if it's just sunk in exactly the way it needs to, sometimes that's good too. Does anybody feel like they have been sort of guilty of either checking the boxes or like not focusing on the process? Jamelin said definitely about being intentional. No weights yet after setting that intention because of the things.
Hey, Christy.
Hey, Paige.
Hey. When you were talking, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about my journey and realized that last year in January, I got really serious. And at the time, I don't know that I really thought about what you were just now explaining about focusing on the process and not so much the other. But I'm sure you'll remember this when I kind of finally sat down and created I'll just say a plan to how I was going to eat better, like my meal prep, et cetera. And that was list, I mean, I put it on paper. That's how my brain thinks. I went through how I would do grocery shopping, which days I would plan to do that, what 7 dinners might look like, because I struggled trying to come up with ideas and worked with my coach to do that. Yeah, it took a couple of hours of just really thoughtful thinking on how to do it. I went out, signed up for grocery delivery and then created like a base grocery list, things that I thought I should have in my fridge at all the time, and started to really assess my groceries. Did I go through that whole package of spring mix? Am I buying too much or too little? And that was pretty much the catapult for me to really food prep, to actually do the work. It was less about I food prepped and more about how am I going to do it consistently.
Yeah, that's such a good observation, because you can kind of be like, well, why didn't I do it better this week? But you haven't applied any work to it. You didn't make a plan. And we have to do the work. And it's funny because then once you do the work, and this is how you know you've done it. This is a good sanity check for anybody. Here's how you know you've done the work, because you sort of become an expert in it. You could teach somebody else how to do it. You could say, like, that's what happens when you get really into something. You start talking about it and you can explain it. You can tell people like work best for you and like this and this and this. And you start talking about it in that way. And so that's kind of how you know you focused on the process enough, is you sort of get into it. And again, even if you don't like cooking, you got to get into meal prep just a little bit if you're not eating healthy meals consistently. There's no way around it. And exercise, it's like, well, if you're not into exercise, well, that's okay, but you're going to have to get into it a little bit. You're going to have to figure out what strength training works for you, what stuff like, and have you ever met somebody where that happens, where they didn't like it or they weren't into it before and all of a sudden they figured it out and then they're super excited to tell you about it? They're like, I used to hate the gym and then I found this class and here's why it's so amazing. And then blah, 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 blah. And this is what the stuff that I got. And they're just pumped because they're into it. I think we have to get into it a little bit in regards to these goals that we've set for ourselves. Become little mini experts, in what works for us in the category of, nutrition, food, meal prep, family food. Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's exercise. I mean, solving my walking problem meant that I knew that if I walk 3 miles in the morning, then I don't have to do very much the rest of the day to hit my goal. And then if I wake up before my oldest is awake, then I can actually go get my walk in, and it's really nice out. And it's actually like so refreshing. I feel so good after. I'm excited to tell you guys about it. I want to tell you every detail about it. I want to tell you how I set my alarm. I want to tell you how it feels when I get back. I want to tell you that my dogs are getting exercise because I focused on it and that's what's working for me. It may not work for you, but that's what I want for you. I want you to solve problems and use your coach and the Fitme family as resources to help you do that, because you don't have to solve them on your own. That's why you're here. But when we start to say, all right, I'm going to make a plan. How am I going to have healthy dinners for my busy family? Like, we have 17 activities. How am I going to do that? Now you can start to solve that problem with your coach and say, here's what I came up with, but I don't think this is going to work because of this. What are your thoughts? And now you're problem solving, you're focused on it. It doesn't require hours and hours. So anybody else have any thoughts or questions on this topic? Cool, guys. Well, if you are doing bingo, I know some of you guys are. If you're doing bingo, let your coach know that you're doing bingo, just so that they know that you're also playing that game. It's definitely supplemental. It'll add to what you're doing, but just give them a window into that you're doing that too, so that they can help you either be accountable or achieve what you want to inside of that game. All right, squad, have a phenomenal week. If you need anything, just reach out and then we will talk soon. All right, guys, take care.
I'm
Bye.
so sorry, Christy. Can I just, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I couldn't figure out how to unmute
Oh, you're good, Meg.
for like a good 5 minutes. I just wanted to say really quickly, I'm really thankful for this, this connection, because I was just thinking about, like, you know, I'm a special educator, I'm an artist. The process is like the most important aspect of both of those positions. So I set up these systems, it's very systematic approach to all those things work-wise, but like my own life is like chaos. So I just appreciate you making that connection where it's like, oh wait, I'm actually a professional in these skills. However, personally, I'm just not utilizing them the same. I'm not thinking about it the same way. So I think this is going to be really helpful to help make a connection for me. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Megan. It's such, I think a lot of people have that feeling of like, I'm a professional, I've got these skills in this other area. It's just harder here. And so I'm glad you said that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know. Because if you have some of those focus on the process skills, you know, those will translate over. Sometimes we just neglect ourselves is all. We are focused on
Absolutely.
ourselves and everyone else. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks, Megan. That was a perfect way to wrap up. I will see you guys later. Have a phenomenal week. All right. Bye.